Are you thinking about starting an Airbnb but not sure where to begin? Are you thinking about starting an Airbnb but not sure if it's the right time? Let's break down everything you need to know. I realize there's a lot of uncertainties going on right now, and interest rates are higher than they've been in quite a few years. And we keep seeing more listings pop up than you ever thought would have been imaginable, and the supply is starting to increase. But what if I told you that the short-term rental demand is outpacing supply, and there are still quite a few opportunities in this area? Now, I have no sales pitch. I'm not selling a course or anything like that. I'm just going to genuinely tell you how I started an Airbnb business and just give you real practical advice on somebody in your shoes looking to maybe start the same. We're going to cover the step-by-step process, risks to consider, and how much money you can actually make. The first step is learning the basics. There's so much information out there for free in a lot of different places. You've already found the Bigger Stays YouTube channel, which is going to be a great resource. And there's plenty of forums at Biggerpockets and other places across the internet that you can start to get a feeling for exactly what it's going to take to run an STR business, which is real estate meets hospitality. My advice is to take small, actionable steps before you ever even consider buying your first place. There's definitely some more time that's going to be spent on short-term rentals if you dive into this in the real estate investment world. But taking it step by step is going to really show you if this is something you want to take on, or if there's maybe a different form of real estate out there that you might want to take. Short-term rentals are my favorite asset class, but once you figure out exactly what your goals are over the next few years, then it will help bring some clarity to know that this is the right path for you. Avoid getting overwhelmed. Start by testing the waters, doing some research, talking to other hosts, and don't be afraid to use some Facebook groups to just ask what the experiences are of other hosts in your area or state. They'll be pretty candid about it. The next step is picking a market. Your location matters. One thing about having a short-term rental is the lifestyle benefits of it. Pick a place that you might want to actually go to and vacation to, because you're going to end up being there a little bit more than you probably expect. You should like the area that you're going to, or making it reasonably near your house so it's not a across the country travel when you're ready to actually go check out a few things or even utilize your property for some of the benefits. And as you're diving into that market, you really need to understand that target audience that will go to that market. Who will your guests be? Will it be families, couples, business travelers? There's a lot of different in-betweens, especially when you're picking different vacation markets that are out there. I don't recommend buying a house in a residential neighborhood in some major metro hub. There's a lot of regulations that are in place, and you're just typically not going to have as good of an experience as others. If you're the only short-term rental in a neighborhood, it is probably going to be bad. If you're one of many, then you have a strength in numbers and things start to change. Each market has a completely different audience though, so you need to understand what it is. One of the most booming and probably one of the few oversaturated markets I would say out there is something like Orlando, Florida. There are some of the most elaborate and decorated short-term rentals that are out there in this market just to hit the top of it. You have another area like the Smoky Mountains that typically is going to get family travels and couple travels, but you're not getting the super high-end luxury travelers that you would expect from a different area in, say, a Breckenridge, Colorado. It really just comes down to knowing your market, which is a big thing if you're going to be local or remote. There are pros and cons to both. If you are near your property and know more about it, you can always handle things that come up. You'll have a greater confidence in the area to know about where to send travelers possibly, and know more just in general what that target guest is going to be since you're closer to the area and understand it a little more. But the cons to that is you might not live by a major vacation rental destination. So you might lack on some of the tourism or occupancy rates that some other markets could hit. So it all has pros and cons to the local side. The remote side is difficult for a few different reasons, but there are also a ton of pros. You can be in a much better vacation market, places with a lot higher tourism, to have cleaning teams, handy people in the area that understand vacation rentals. This is going to be a major pro to going into a remote market. There's also a pro and a possible con, depending how you look at it, is you need to build really refined systems when you're looking into a remote market. You need to do this locally as well, but if you're doing a remote market, you're going to have everything that could possibly go wrong and have a system and process already in place, because it won't be as easy for you to handle. The big glaring con of it being a remote STR host is that no one is going to care about your property as much as you. So if you're depending on a property manager or self-managing from far away, which I still recommend and highly favor, then you at least need to plan on getting out to the property once a year, hopefully twice a year, because again, nobody's going to care for your property like you, and you're the one that owns it in the end. As you're picking a market, there's some key research points to look into. You need to understand the regulations that are in place for the market you're looking into. Do they even allow Airbnbs, and is there restrictions in place anywhere? Then you need to see what the actual market demand is. You can use something like AirDNA or Price Labs to analyze pricing trends, occupancy rates, and seasonality. And in the end, you need to check into the housing market trends. This is still a real estate deal to begin with, and you need to see, are prices going up in the area? Is the area oversaturated? And even, is there any growth for revenue demand in the foreseeable future? Picking a market is tough, but I recommend starting closer to your home base, especially for your first one, and then be able to build out a little further to some other markets that may be a little more remote. The next step is financing your Airbnb. You have your traditional financing that is already out there. You can get a conventional loan, you can get a second home loan, you can get an investor loan. There's going to be different rates and different percentages that you need to put down, and each lender will have different products. You can even do something that is a DSCR loan, where the lender will not even care about how much income you personally make, but all they care about is how much the property makes and what your credit score is. And they're pretty popular in the short-term rental world, but they do take a hefty down payment, usually about 25%, maybe even higher to 30% if you're in a rural area. BiggerPockets does have a lender finder that you can find that we'll link in the description. This will help you start your short-term rental journey, because there are some lenders that understand short-term rentals more than others. There's also a few options for creative financing, even though these are a little harder to come about, but with a little effort, you can make these work, as plenty of people do. There's something called rental arbitrage that became quite popular a few years back. It is not as easy to do as it once was. This is basically where you find a place that is okay with you doing a short-term rental. You lease it long-term as the tenant. Then you operate it as a short-term rental under your long-term lease. This is a way so that you don't have to put much money down and actually buy the property, and also still get the benefits for cash flow. This was extremely popular in major metro areas, like I mentioned a couple years back, and was pretty lucrative when it first became a thing. But you usually have to furnish the place, and with the high cost of furniture and other designs that are just starting to win on Airbnb, you're going to be competing with a lot and having to put a lot up front still, and then you don't even own the place in the end. There's also options to look into seller financing properties. This is very popular with land if you're looking to build something, but some other properties that are paid off already or have been around a little longer might be open to doing some seller financing and being able to get creative with how you're able to make that deal possible. There's also partnerships that you can use where you put a lot of the legwork in to find the property and use somebody else's capital, but that's a whole nother topic that we can dive into for short-term rental partnerships. Just let us know in the comments if it's something you want us to make more content about. There's a lot of upfront costs with starting a short-term rental, so make sure that you have your funds in place before starting. Most short-term rentals, you're not even going to be able to get into under $100,000 once you have furniture and everything that comes with it. You can get creative with some different seller financing, rental arbitrage, but if you're starting with less money on a lower end budget, my advice is to really look into co-hosting, which is basically where you help host the property that is for another owner, and you usually don't have to put up any of your own money to start this. You will need experience usually to get some of the better hosts, but all it takes one to get experience. So look into co-hosting further, and we'll make more content about it as well and how you can become a better co-host. Step 4 is finding a property. You need to get approved for that financing that we mentioned before. You want to know how much you can exactly spend and where your budget is going to lie. Wherever you're going, I highly recommend you work with a real estate agent in that area that understands STRs. Short-term rentals are way different than any type of long-term rental or just a residential real estate sale. Ask them how many short-term rentals they have in their portfolio. Ask them how many of their past deals this past year have been short-term rentals, and ask if they have any vendors in the area, handymen, cleaners, repair people, subcontractors, anything like that. If they have any they can recommend. If they're able to answer most of these questions and have a couple in their portfolio, they're probably somebody that at least understands what are some of the better neighborhoods and areas to buy in and where the regulations actually may take over. BiggerPockets also has a real estate agent finder that I will link in the description below to help find your short-term rental specific real estate agent. Once you get both of those in line, now you need to figure out what properties within your buy box, what are your parameters that you're looking for, and start looking at properties and take your time. Don't get so caught up with just getting a deal and getting it done. The longer you wait and look at more properties, the more experienced you'll become and understand when a good deal actually comes up. You can use the BiggerPockets STR calculator if you're curious how much a property may exactly make in conjunction with something like AirDNA. Step 5 is running your numbers. You'll need to figure out what your revenue projections are going to be like. If you find an address that you like, go on something like AirDNA, type the address in, and see what the potential revenue may be. Look at other properties on Airbnb in that exact area and see what they are charging, how many reviews they are getting a month. Most Airbnb properties, if they're getting quite a bit of bookings, they're going to have at least 3 to 4, 5 plus reviews each month. And if they're really not getting much traction at all, then it's probably a sign that they may not be giving the activity that you're looking for. As you're looking at this, think about it from a seasonal perspective as well. You don't want to go into a beach market that has a summer that just booms, and then you jump in September and think that you're going to make the same that other Airbnbs are making within that time frame. Airbnbs need to be looked at from a yearly view to see what kind of revenue actually is made through the entire year, not just a month or two or a few months. There's a lot higher expenses that go along with short-term rentals too. Using the calculator will show you the utilities, extra expenses that you may not be expecting, the wear and tear, maintenance, and what you actually may have in expenses that will cut into your profit, but you'll still see higher revenue earnings. After that, you can see the cash on cash return and a lot of other 5-year metrics that will show you what it looks like performing in the future to see if it's a smart investment on the real estate side. Step 6 is to start making offers. Don't expect your first one to be accepted. It may take some time, and don't be afraid to lean on your real estate agent to help give you some guidance on what exactly you should be doing. Stick with your methods. Don't overpay for a property if you know it is not going to be able to be profitable at a certain point. Think with logic, don't think with your emotion, and understand the different negotiation strategies that can actually work in your favor as you're submitting offers. Once you're under contract, you'll have your inspections and due diligence to do, which are very important to see how you move forward. You start finalizing the closing of the property, and as you're doing all this, start planning the Airbnb and figuring out how you're going to set it up as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Step 7 is setting up the Airbnb. You need to think about the practicality of what type of guests you're trying to draw in. If it is families, then you need to cater to families as you're designing it. If it is couples or romantic getaways, then think about how you can cater to that market and make all of your properties as Instagram worthy as you can. Think about what items add to the functionality and are essential, and what other items are luxury items to put in. You might want to lean on to an interior designer that can really help you make it pop or knows a lot about the short-term rental space. Once that's all set up, I highly recommend you hire a professional photographer who specializes in short-term rental listings. Once you get those photos back, you'll need to set up your listing, optimize your description, get all of your amenities checked in, get on as many Airbnb categories as you can, and set up some competitive pricing using a dynamic pricing tool like Price Labs. Step 8 is managing the Airbnb. One of the keys here to making short-term rentals so effective now is the automation and efficiency from different softwares that are out there. Using a tool like Hospitable, which is a property management software, will change the game for you in the short-term rental world. You'll have unified messages. You'll be able to have custom guest messages that go out, smart lock integration. You'll be able to sync multiple different calendars. There's a myriad of benefits using a property management software. It is worth every single dollar that it is, and it's not that expensive to do. It saves you so much in time, so it's something I can't recommend more than anything else. As you start to implement some of these tools that are on Hospitable or different platforms, you'll be able to see the power that they start to develop for your short-term rental and really start to hone in on how you can increase the guest experience while also managing everything that goes on within the operation best. Once you have it on one platform like Airbnb, you can start to diversify. Like there's a myriad of different places. The more places on, the more eyeballs you will have. And something like a property management software can link all those together so that way you never have double bookings and it's all in one unified platform. Step 9 is protecting your investment. You should do this as you are launching your Airbnb and get a short-term rental specific insurance policy. Airbnb's air cover is not enough to cover everything. Your own place will need some type of vacation rental or short-term rental household insurance, and this usually has liability insurance as well that comes with it, so that way you can make sure you're covered in case of any slip or fall that a guest tries to blame you for. There's many ways to have your short-term rental safe, and we will cover more content about that. I'll even bring on a safety expert pretty soon, but getting insurance that is known to work with short-term rentals is the key to start this process to make sure you're protected, because they'll understand exactly how to operate in the short-term rental world. Now, after that, you don't become an instant millionaire once you launch your Airbnb or anything by that nature. It usually takes quite a few months to build up reviews, get some traction going on your bookings, but using some social media and other direct marketing tactics that you can use on the short-term rental world can help increase these chances by a lot. To get the listing active, it usually takes a couple months. Remote might even take a few months months more. But after the first year, you should really have an idea on how much you're going to be able to make on this property. The second year is usually one of the most profitable for different short-term rentals out there. So my advice is do not get frustrated very quickly if they don't come pouring in with bookings. Keep trying to refine your listing, figuring out different marketing tactics that are out there and different methods for increasing bookings that we will cover on the Bigger States channel. We've put out a few videos like that now already. So let us know in the comments if you want some more content that dives further into how to get more bookings, or if you have any specific questions when you're trying to start your Airbnb. Every place and every market is going to be different for how much revenue you may earn, but trust the tools that are out there and trust your gut and what exactly your goals are, and you'll still end up happy. We can't even talk about the myriad of tax benefits, debt pay down, the lifestyle benefits of properties that you own can vacation to. There's a myriad of other things that help, but you got to start small and get the first one going or the next to make your short-term rental a long-term success. See y'all in the next video.